property. I'm concerned that if someone who didn't watch the meeting read this, they'd say, oh, we
can't do anything until we get a forest
Exactly.
management plan. And what we were trying to do was implement a forest management plan because it hasn't been done in town in decades.
Correct.
Okay, are you guys okay with the way it's written? I'm not trying to be a nitpicker.
I think it laid it out very
What
well.
if we said instead of precluded, included in any future development of property? Because the
It's
pre
the
bothers
future
me.
development of the property that
Okay.
I just anticipate people who don't watch the meeting but only read it saying, you can never do anything there again.
Well, I guess I'm confused because I thought that was the interpretation of what Ross says, is that if you put a forestry management plan on a property, then you can't develop the property.
Until you get done or take it off, have it signed off.
Yeah.
Which is
While
correct.
it's on.
What?
the
Yes,
FFP,
but
you
if
can't.
you have an FMP, you can't develop the property, but I may have misunderstood that.
So how about if it just said, it precludes any future development of the property
As
until
long
the
as there's
FFP
an
is,
something like that?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't wanna be a nitpicker and I'm.
No, that's
No,
fine.
you just wanna make sure somebody understands
Well,
that.
people from outside could interpret that.
Okay.
I will update your second, that you're going to update your,
Yes, I'm updating the second
Your motion.
of the motion.
So with the amendment, we okay with that?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tim, you in
Alright.
favor?
yes, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
I just was reading that last Paul Matson, wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that I missed.
So let's jump over number one, the makeup of the commission just for the moment, just because it's easier. And let's discuss expiration of Paul Jolly's term and other vacant seat. So as you all know, we have a vacant seat, and I now have a document or letter from Paul Jolly, and I'll just read it to members of the RDICC from Paul Jolly, subject RDI membership. I regret to inform you I'm no longer able to continue as a member of the RDIC. I appreciate the opportunity to serve, but due to the time constraints, I'm unable to commit the time that the position deserves, and feel as though the board would be better served if I step aside. I've enjoyed working with all of you and encourage you to continue the good work you're doing for the town. Thank you, Paul Jolly.
Did he sign that one, Mike?
He sent it to me in an email, so.
Cause that's one thing Anita said with Britain, she needs resignations with signatures
If it
on
needs to be signed, I can sign it.
So in this case, it's not a resignation because his term is gonna expire.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just add this to the file for the select board's
Oh,
knowledge
cool.
that he's, not seeking reappointment.
That
and
makes
then
things easy
Perfect.
then.
that confirms
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Cause
Oh.
anybody can seek appointment even if somebody wants to renew, right?
Oh, yeah, correct. I thought he was resigning, which makes things a whole lot easier.
Okay,
Well, it's too bad.
Well,
it is, but
Yeah.
I understand. Paul owns property up in New Hampshire and spends
Summers
significant
and-
amount of time there, long weekends and so on. And he talked to me on the side about it a couple of times, said, I feel bad, I'm just not able to make, but I'm not gonna not, go to my
he
family's
wants to make
house.
space for somebody that might wanna be,
Yeah, no, and I think that's exactly what he said.
yeah.
So, Tamika, we don't have to do anything with that, we don't have to give that to the selectmen or anything else, he expires.
Correct, so I'm going to give it to the selectmen.
Oh, that's
just
fine.
So that they know that
Yeah.
Paul himself said that he didn't want to seek reappointment, but other than that, if there's nobody interested in the seat, you don't need to do anything further.
Okay, speaking of interest in the seat, I know that, and I apologize, the
Jean's, it's,
Gene Cipriano?
I'm glad you can pronounce it, cause I'm bad. I spoke with her on the phone and wanted to find out, I said, I think the board appreciated your input, thought you'd be a valuable member, are you interested? And she said, at this time, I'm still interested, but I don't want to be appointed to the board because she is getting involved with her HOA and they want her to be president and she feels that's gonna be a huge.
HOA.
She must, I'm guessing she's in Susie's,
Susie's.
Oh, Susie's got.
Susie's,
Okay.
and they need somebody with some skill sets to do that, so she goes, I'm still gonna keep, watching the tape.
Doesn't
and be
matter
involved."
what
But she said
not
no,
interested.
yeah, she said no.
So we currently have 2 vacancies. Okay, so
Are we a 6-member board now?
we have always been a 6-member board.
Mhm.
Well, not
No.
always, not always, but back when
Okay,
Mr. Shitty was chairman,
Right.
he made us a 6-member board.
Should we request to be a five-member board just so we can have a quorum?
Well, it's not so much the quorum, it's,
Yes.
to me, it's more of a
And
problem.
number, yes. Oh, sorry,
No, that's all right, go ahead.
no, for voting.
Yeah, it's more of a problem to have an even number to me than to be a five-member board for quorum. I think for the most part, we get at least four of us. You know, so a five or a six member doesn't matter. The six member to me is always gives you the threat, it's not the right word, but of having an even vote. And
Right.
now I don't ever recall that happening, but it certainly
I was
is.
gonna say with the number
Yeah,
of years.
I mean, it's certainly
I've never
possible,
remembered
so.
that.
No, but also for the fact that we can't fill the seat either, like we can't even, we get the fifth seat,
Yeah.
but yeah. So should we request, should I make a motion that we
Well,
request the
let's
select
talk
board
about it. I mean, I'm
to
fine with that. I was always happy with a five-member board when it
I'm
was.
good with five. And again, I'm not throwing dog feet out there, but we saw this year what happened.
Throwing, what did you say?
Dog
Dog
feet.
feet.
I did.
Feet.
Yeah.
I'll ask for an explanation of that later.
We saw with the select board, when they didn't have one member show up, they were 2-2 the whole time, and I don't want us to get in that situation by having an even number, so I think a five-member board would be an outstanding choice.
Yeah,
Seven would be fine too, cause at the time, we were
Hmm.
7 at one time, or some large number when Ron was here, if I remember right.
yeah, but the
I
problem
thought
then
that
was
was-
a quorum too.
Exactly, that's why I think
Yeah.
five's a better choice. Cause once you get too big, you sort of get out of control. My opinion.
Thoughts, Michelle?
I think we should be a five-member board. Request to be a five-member board.
I see no problem.
Agreed? No
Agree.
problem.
No, I see no problem with being a five-member.
Well, I agree with the five-member board, but my reasoning is a little different. You know, it's I don't think we should be an even number. But the bigger the board gets, to me, the more unmanageable it becomes. And I give an example of, pick a subject. Today we're gonna talk about whether the sun's gonna shine. And if everybody spends 5 minutes giving their opinion, well, there's a half an
35 minutes
hour
is gone,
gone, and, you know, we haven't even discussed anything else, so I'm not, I don't want anybody to think that, you know, we're trying to limit discussion, but, you know, it has to be prudent, and, so I'm in favor of a five-member board as well. So, since we all agree, your thought was,
Should we request to the select board, make a request to the select board to reduce our membership to a five-member board?
I think that should go on their agenda.
you agree?
Agreed.
I agree. Alright, so is there a motion to do that?
I did make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that makes sense?
It does, so I'll draft a letter with this request and I'll submit it to the board for the June 23rd agenda, which is when they're doing appointments anyways, so.
Thanks, Tim.
Problem. And were there, do we know of anybody else who's interested?
I was going after Jean because she came to our meeting.
Right.
We haven't had a lot of participation in our meetings, so
Mhm.
when she came and was interested,
Yeah,
I
was
gave her a
excited
couple,
about
3
that.
weeks to think about it, and then I approached her on the phone. And we were talking about other stuff, but I just threw that out at her, and, again, she said she's interested, but this isn't the time.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, keep it there, cause, the offer still stands.
Yeah, and I think it's important that people don't get appointed just to be appointed. If they haven't shown any interest
Yeah.
and come to a meeting or whatever,
Right.
why just go say, hey, do you wanna serve on the RDIC?
Yeah,
You know, if they want to serve, or anybody.
They're gonna find us.
Right.
Yeah.
that's why I did the reach out, cause she at least showed up to a meeting and participated.
Right. So,
I have a question.
sure,
Does he take the camera for a hike?
probably if he's hiking. Why don't you ask him the question?
Oh, do you want them to videotape?
Well, but I'm thinking to myself around, maybe some of our meetings, we ought to be filming as we're walking around a piece of property and try and let it get out that way to other people for crying out loud, what's it about, what we're trying to do, and look at things, and
Well, that young lad who has, video experience would be the perfect person to do it.
Josh, are you able to do that, or would you be amenable to do that?
If I'm on the clock, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I-
This
Yes.
isn't a freebie.
But I mean, rather than sitting here, if we decided, for instance, to go up to, the senior project up at the old Rutland Heights to talk about
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
You have the ability to be portable, and obviously.
Yeah, this is portable, yeah.
Excellent, that'd be a great
Just,
idea.
just, because in the
Or the
back,
68 property, Dick, when we're out taking a look at something that we want
Exactly.
to forest managery. We
Yeah.
can talk about it, we can use that word until we're blue in the face, but until people can see
Yeah,
that
I
the things
agree.
are clumped
Great
so
idea.
together.
Yeah.
exactly. And to me, for crying out loud, in the back of my mind, I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I would love to get back up to the heights with a brush hog and spend a little bit of time up there and make an alleyway down around the pond and things like that. And then maybe take a,
Have 'em take a ride with you?
well, not necessarily ride, but I mean, have a meeting and go to
Yeah, no, I get
a
it.
couple of
Put a
places.
sulky on the back and let him sit. I know nobody
But,
understands what the hell he's saying.
we'll see how things
No,
work
I think that's a
out.
great idea.
We'll see how things work out, but,
And thank you, Josh, to be accommodating if you decide to.
I just like the idea of trying to, how do you get out there, what you're doing,
Yeah, picture's worth 1,000 words, no doubt about that.
bingo.
Do we need to, since the RDIC's under our purview, make a motion that allow Dick to, when he wants to do volunteer work, to do any cleaning up there that the RDIC stands behind? What I'm trying to get at is, you don't get yelled at for doing something because, have you talked to the RDIC?
What I may do, I don't think I wanna do it again, what happened with Margaret way back when. I did a senior thing for crying out loud, and I had to spend 80 hours up there.
Oh, doing work?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
don't wanna do that, and that's when you guys you bought a tire from me, and thank God you did, because I probably couldn't afford it. As a matter of fact, I gotta.
So what happens now, though, if to his
No,
point?
it should be my responsibility. You know,
No, I
I'm
meant,
just saying.
but up there, if you're doing, to me, it's volunteer work for the RDIC, you're not
Mhm.
getting paid, you're just doing it.
Yeah,
I like to have the RDIC, if somebody would call Mike up and go, hey, I saw a tractor up there cutting, who authorized that?
yeah,
I can say, well, the RDIC gave Mr. Williams, the right to go up there and do some clearing for us, a pass.
yeah,
That's the end of the discussion.
because I've done it,
Just,
I've
I'll make a
done it,
motion, I'll make a
Did you
motion
just
to
read?
allow Mr. Williams to do some, clearing and cutting up at the RDIC to improve the property
At his discretion.
at his discretion, correct?
I'm agreeable
I'm sorry,
to- I'm agreeable to that.
so was that a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
okay.
Excellent, there, you're authorized, I'll get you a nice little badge.
Okay.
No,
But I
But
do
be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do think though that you should at least tell like Chris or somebody
Oh, yeah.
when you're gonna be there, so that if they do get calls, they know, or maybe even Tamika, so that if she gets calls, like.
What I'm trying to do also is to help Chris, because
He's out of money.
he's out of money. I talked to him yesterday for crying out loud, and had
July
He-
1st can't get here fast enough.
and he was so upset because he has no money for a whole month. He says, I'm dragging,
Mhm.
there's no money,
Okay,
and I feel for him.
Good.
So,
thank you, Dick.
all right.
Next item on the agenda, any other business not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours of the meeting. Now, I don't even know how to deal with this, but there is, maybe Tamika, best if you
Sure.
explain the circumstances. So all I'm gonna ask is, committee members, what you have in front of you, make no public comment until after we're done with figuring out how to deal with this.
So, there are 3 properties that are going through the land court process right now as part of the tax title process, which means that at the end of this process, which is approximately 6 to 8 weeks, the town will become the owners of these properties. The select board has to decide whether we want to retain the properties because we believe they're of value to the town, or if we would like to sell them. A good example of that is the house that's next to Dunkin' Donuts. That was a tax title property that the town sold and was able to get a little bit of money from. So the chair of the select board has asked for feedback from certain boards and committees that that this kind of falls within their purview. For example, you guys, as well as the Conservation Commission, since they oversee open space, it also went out to all of the departments as well. So at their June 23rd meeting, they're gonna be discussing and making a decision if they wanna keep these properties or have the treasure collector sell them. One thing to keep in mind that the treasure collector did advise is that there is the potential that this could cost the town money if we keep the parcels, in the respect that they're required to have an appraisal. And if there is determined to be equity in the property after the appraisal is done, the heirs to those properties can then require the town to pay them that equity.
That's the new laws in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
So, but is it offset by their,
not necessarily. So it could end up being money out of pocket that the town
well, let
would
me
owe
just
to pay off
give
the
a
heirs.
simple example. If the landowner owes $10,000 and the property is worth $50,000, do they offset? They must.
In that case, it would. There are also other expenses that get taken off the top as well.
Sure, okay.
You know, so there isn't a lot in the end. But for right now, we're asking to keep publicly the conversation general, just as far as specific addresses, out of respect. The individuals obviously are aware, but we just don't, wanna share with the public, given the sensitivity of the topic. But also given the tight time frame, we wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity to provide any feedback if you wanted to.
So,
How many acres are in 60?
don't mention an address or anything else,
It
sorry.
should all be there on the property card, so I did a map and a property card for each of them. The assessor's office has already provided her feedback. It's her opinion that these parcels are not of value to the town.
Who was that?
The assessor, based on a few different reasons that she had provided, so just to get that as a
But
bit.
they
It's
are-
either I'm
they are
gonna ask
valuable.
now or I'm gonna ask at the planning board, so
Well, I'm not,
it's not on here,
It is,
acreage.
it is right there, it's at the bottom, I just found it.
Yeah,
Parcel, total land,
Oh, yeah,
acres, at
okay.
the bottom center of each one.
it says land units and
There-
square feet.
There it is, thank you.
I'm only trying to be sensitive to the
Yes.
to the confidentiality of
Yeah.
it. So, when Tamika sent this to me today, we had a couple of exchanges of emails, and I wondered out loud to her whether this might be an executive session discussion, so you can talk about it rather than do the dance we're doing right now.
Well, it's negotiations of financial,
Yeah, I mean, there's no
Information.
question it has.
There is a valid reason.
Yeah, there's a valid
Executive
reason for it.
session.
Because I don't see how we can,
talk
how
about
can I
this
say
event.
to you, oh, okay, let's talk about this one here without saying what this one here is?
Yeah, do we do that? Do we ask for, I just don't know which reason, I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 or,
Yes, so the treasure collector had suggested the same for when the select board discusses it, so there is a reason, I don't remember the number, but it has to do with the exchange and transfer of real estate.
yes.
The only thing is, you guys would just have to be available to hold like an off meeting
Yeah,
night
that's fine.
executive session between now and June 18th, so that we can have your feedback before their discussion.
That would be,
Could we do it now?
We can't because it wasn't posted.
So,
Uh,
so we can go to an executive session in 3 days from now.
As long, yep, as long as there
Are
was
you
48
out of
hours
town
to
next week?
post.
Monday's my only day. Tuesday, we're going to the airport and I'm getting on a 4 AM flight on Wednesday, and won't be back until the 18th.
It's too late to post for Monday.
Yeah, it's 2 days. And okay, well, if you're not around, you're not around.
Yeah. Still have a quorum with, I just,
Do we have a quorum with only 3?
no.
oh, cause
That's
it's
the
a
problem with a
6-member quorum.
six-member board.
Oh, crap. I mean, it's been done before with emergency meetings in town, even though we're not 48 hours out, let's say Thursday.
I think that'd be a tough sell for the emergency piece though.
Quorum, we have no other way to get a quorum before the 18th.
The only other option
Unless
is if
Paul
you
would
want
show
to assign like a number to it and say, okay, let's talk about property number 1 without speaking about the address.
Mike, and generally, when I look these over, and I somewhat agree with the assessor, that I looked at cause there's property across from where I live in Palmagussit that was tax title that was bought. And basically, it went for 50% of the value. So if I'm doing the numbers of property 1, 2, and 3, I'm looking at about $500,000 of revenue for the town. I gotta tell you, they need it, so. My opinion as a board member is like, I don't see any value in these pieces of property for the town to retain for any use, for buildings, for offices, anything like that where they're located. I see it as a revenue getter for the town, is the way I see it. So me personally, for property 1, 2, and 3, I would say, let it go to tax title and let the town sell it. That's my opinion, without getting any details of each property.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, how come, 2 different properties supposedly, but,
Did I attach the wrong one?
yeah,
I may have.
Here are my 3 if you need one.
Oh,
They all have different pictures.
and that one,
oh no.
and that one's got the, central
Okay.
tree.
Oh,
Here's property
Oh.
number 2.
is that one right? This was Paul's package. See if that one's right. Maybe I just messed up the one. I flipped walking.
I just did the math, and
Bingo.
the way they're laid out now, it's like $1
It's
million.
not even math to me, is it a usable piece of property? I mean,
That, in my
Alright.
opinion, they're too small.
well,
And that's my opinion there, and that, I'll stick to it. The reason, Dan,
okay, no reason, what's the next one?
I haven't,
And you two,
Yeah.
and there was one there that,
Rolling and property already, I think.
Yeah.
it's a property that,
Therefore, 'cause
I
right
thought
now it's
came
supposed to
before
be
the
in 68
town a
corridor,
long time
and
ago.
makes it.
And I begged the select board to buy it because it was on, this is Muscatpaw.
that? Okay, that's all right, I'm sorry, I just didn't want you to say anything that you shouldn't say.
That's why it's coming up in the planning board, because they're,
The other thing, Mike, is that
Sorry, I didn't mean to
property
That's
one,
all right.
somebody like that.
property
No.
1, 2, and 3 are in residential areas. It doesn't serve us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 of us that think, 3 of us that
Yeah.
think. Do you have a
He's for
strong
the
opinion
others.
one way or the other?
He's got one more to go here, or 2 more to go.
And one of them I know for a fact is swampland. That's the reason why there's no building on it right now. That's why one of them looks like this.
I, let's put it this way,
Did-
there is a piece of property, no, that's, it's further down, this is town-owned property. I wish it was, I'm trying to think, back in the day in Concom about,
So Tamika, these photographs that are here, if there is, ask this different, if there is a building on it, is that part of,
Yes.
That's-
Part and parcel.
That's why the appraised value is the number that it is.
Yes. The photos on there would have been the last photo taken by the assessor's office for the
Yeah.
property card.
And
so
still
Dick,
have-
your last comment?
I'll just, hold off on the other 2,
Okay, so
yes.
someone make a motion on dealing with these 3 parcels, or our opinion from the RDIC, do we feel as though there's value to the town? Well, does the RDIC see value, not necessarily the town thing?
I would make a motion that we inform the select board that the RDIC doesn't see any use of these properties for town use in the future. Or let me rephrase that,
For
doesn't have any
development.
use, doesn't see any use for purchase of these properties for any town function. I think that's a good way to say it.
with the exception of one that does not have any contour lines on it, to the best of my knowledge, there's no contours.
I think that the reason I make the motion is all three of them are residential, and, they're too far from any other,
So I think our motion has to be,
motion to recommend to the select board that, the RDIC doesn't believe there's any uses of these properties for the town. To purchase,
well,
or not to purchase.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, all I'm saying is, I don't think we should be evaluating whether there's a value to the town. We should be saying the RDICC sees no value.
Are we
Okay,
interested
yes.
in-
Okay,
End the discussion.
For us to deal
RDICC
with?
sees no value for us to, work with. That's it, that'll be my motion there.
Right, that
I
we don't have an
think-
interest in pursuing it, correct?
Correct. And I'll second that motion. E-motion.
You okay with that, Tamika?
Sure.
Okay. No, I meant, did you get what we were saying?
I think so, yes. Sorry,
Okay.
pen problems.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, that's what I
Okay.
said, Ed.
Perfect.
I'll give you these back, cause I don't want anything to do with them,
Yeah, that's a good
Thank
point.
you.
other than, oh, I can't say it for the hamburgers.
Okay, well-
Just
Sorry.
give me a second here, please.
Time's up.
Dick, if you're gonna take those to the planning board, hold on to them.
Negative.
You can have mine
Okay.
too.
You can keep them, you just can't share them, that's all.
So I don't want anything. Oh, that scared the heck out of me, that door's moving.
Okay.
And I didn't see anybody there, I'm like, what's going on here?
It was that
Yeah.
person for our purposes, where did the mark?
And that's the reason why on that one. These I don't. I already, on the other one I said what I felt.
Do you want my copies?
Pass them by and I'll take them off, now we're,
Reusing.
the one, yeah.
Can you put them in the select board's packet?
Just make sure you take the ones with,
With
Nobody
my-
with Dick's, yeah,
Yeah.
notes on them.
When it goes to court, it'll be public documents anyhow, so. Well, they have to, cause tax dollars, they have to go to land court.
Mhm.
All right, last order of business is, it's time to reorg, or talk about reorging. Hang on a second.
Isn't reorging in July after?
I always thought way back it used to be.
There, I deleted them to me, they're going from my.
Well, when the select board meets to reappoint and all that,
Mhm.
when?
June 23rd.
Yeah, so I think the reorg would happen before that.
Usually it happens after the appointments, in case
Mhm.
somebody came forward with interest and got appointed at the 23rd. You would want that person to be a part of your reorg.
Okay.
The other thing I was gonna mention is our next meeting is would normally be scheduled for July 3rd, and I'm guessing no way.
no.
So I didn't know
Yeah.
if you wanted to
Is that
pick a
during the
different,
Strawberry Festival?
No, that's
or-
during my chicken
chicken
barbecue, I need
barbecue.
all Buddy Pine Days.
so I wanted to
400
see if you
chickens to
wanted to
sell.
pick another date in July, or if you wanted to skip July and go to August, since we don't, it's up to you.
I think we needed July, cause I think we need to get with the town, the new town administrator, and get that.
Do we have a new town administrator?
Yes, we do, David.
Forest.
David Demunch,
The
he's our
legend.
interim town
Yes.
administrator, he'll be with us through the end of November, and
Lovely.
he is a certified accounting officer.
So the RFP for the
Forester.
FMP, throw those acronyms out there, really wanna get that thing,
Yes,
Roll.
Well, you can bet he's not gonna do work on that before June.
before
I mean, he's
June.
gonna have bigger fish to fry.
oh, no, but that's why I said in July, if we have a meeting, we can codify and then say, okay, we'd like you in July to focus at least a couple hours a week on this,
We
at least
need,
get it put together.
we can't keep kicking this down the road. We've gotta take care of this.
So Tamika, is Austin out, so he's no longer doing anything part-time or, okay.
One thing to keep in mind is that David is part-time as well, so he is only able to work 22 hours a week. So as of right now, the select board has only required that he attend select board meetings. So if he comes to an RDIC meeting, he would have to take into consideration
Got
his hours, just as a heads up.
Is
That
it
he's not
something that
full-time.
Austin didn't leave any paperwork for him to take and do? Not a thing. Nothing. No wonder I fired him.
Alright, so, the short answer here is we need to schedule a date.
We do it the week after 4th of July. Which is what, the
That's
third,
our
10th?
7th.
10th?
No, yeah.
The 10th is Thursday, yeah, I was saying the week of
Has
this.
anybody got any vacation plans, or be out of town?
No, there's no snow on the ground,
We
so
could
I'm-
change it to a different day.
Let's,
I'm fine with
let's,
that too.
let's tentatively do the
Let's
10th,
tentative that,
and,
okay.
and the focus of that meeting will be reorg.
An update on,
Yeah, well, I don't know how anything's gonna change on,
Could we possibly do it earlier in the week, like Monday or Tuesday?
any day's fine with me, Tuesday's fine with me.
Would you guys
Tuesday
be okay
can't,
with Tuesday?
I don't.
I don't, because,
Do we have
That's
a
a
plan?
second, third, and fourth, I'm tied up, two with planning board and one with the
Okay,
ag
and then it's
commission.
the second one, okay, alright, we'll keep it the 10th.
What time's planning board?
6:30.
What time, I'm sorry?
6:30.
So if we're just gonna do a reorg, we could do it at 6, and you could go to your planning board meeting.
They're both gonna be on here.
Is that too much?
When?
If you,
that's the 8th.
July 8th,
July 8th is planning board
at 6:30.
at 6:30.
So if we had a reorg meeting at 6, you could then go right to your planning board meeting, right? I mean, I don't see it taking very long to reorg, it is gonna be whatever everybody wants.
As long as we have nothing between now
Unless
and
we
then,
have
come
a
up with
fist
Harmony
fight.
Place.
Yeah. All right,
I'm good with Tuesday the 8th, 6.
You okay with that?
yes, thank you for.
Is that okay with you,
considering.
Tamika?
Works for me.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I was gonna ask you if you had any word, cause last time I drove up to Harmony Place, it looks like they were accelerating the sales.
I can only tell you I drove up there specifically early in the evening one night just to see lights
Lights.
on. And we now are seeing lights on, and I just learned of someone I know who, from Rutland, who just bought one there, so.
Okay,
I have not talked to Laurel recently, and shame on me, I should have called her before today, but, and I'll make sure to do that before our next meeting, just to kinda get her flavor.
good.
I just thought since they got the ZBA to give them they can start moving.
Right. Well,
The
there's,
deck's already done.
I know, but they had to,
Yeah.
the occupancy permits and all that stuff were getting held up, so I think now.
isn't there 9 buildings, 9 foundations?
They had 2 more last time I was up there, they were working on
Yeah, I
it.
think
So
there's nine.
Wow, I haven't been
Yeah.
up there since I was.
that's why my hope was by the end of this fall, that phase 1 would have a good chunk of it done.
Yeah, I'm sure it's their hope too.
And then moving into phase 2, as that gets started, then maybe we could talk about the property when you come in to the right. I won't put any names with it.
You know what?
What's
Now,
lot the,
since we're talking about Harmony Hill, and it's unanticipated, Tamika, there was a part of our original agreement, a timeline of when units had, phase 1 had to be built, and if they weren't built, there was a penalty and so on and so forth. And that was not put in the,
Purchase and sale?
no, the, drawing a blank, the.
Land disposition agreement.
Yeah, okay, it was not documented in that, but where it was documented, I've thought about this, I now remember. I insisted in the negotiation that stay, and the owner and the financer of the project, Mr. Adams, gave a personal guarantee, he wrote a personal guarantee of those. So somewhere in
Oh,
the documents, there is a letter.
I'll look for it.
that's great, Mike. I thought it was completely off the
No,
table.
I'm absolutely positive
God
of
bless
it.
you. Wow, excellent.
And I will, I'll look through my files, I just happened to think of this a couple days ago. I'll look through my files and see if I can find it, if not, I'll call Attorney Campobasso and ask him for a copy of it, because there's no doubt he would have it.
Okay.
But we obviously have it somewhere.
Sure.
I'm guessing I'm not guessing, I'm guaranteed Dave George has it somewhere in his,
Files,
yeah, which, you know. And if I have to, I'll call Dave and, you know, I'm sure he'll,
well, his filing, that's basically intact in his office.
right.
And it's always, I mean, it's probably that thick.
Yeah, and if you need me to go up and look through it, just tell me, and I'll do it, if you can give me access to the, but I'm,
Yeah, it's in the office now. Well, not, there's no person in it
Nobody
anymore.
in it.
I am 99% sure that was, I'm 100% sure that was done. It's painful to say that,
I'm
but
glad you're answering, cause I'd heard that it was left out of, or was removed from the
it was,
negotiations.
no, it was out of the purchase and sale and the land agreement, and they didn't want, they said, that's it, we're not doing it. And I said, well, we're not doing it if you don't do it. And then push came to shove, and they came back, and he personally guaranteed,
The financier.
yeah, the owner and the financier personally guaranteed the penalty phase of it. I'm absolutely positive of that.
Not that I wanna invoke that, because I want him to take it
No,
off
no,
and
no,
get
me
it done.
neither, of course not, but I just,
And he's had some force majeure issues with National
Yeah.
Grid, and
oh, it's had,
there's nothing we can do about that, and unfortunately, it's
he's
been a
had
pain.
some of his own too.
Well, I'm trying to be positive.
Okay, did I hear another motion?
Motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
Is there a second? Any
Second.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.